Hey everybody, I'm Dan from the Frog Pond Veg Patch. I'm out in the garden this week doing some spring pruning of our raspberries. And make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to show you how to get raspberries all season long. Don't forget to click subscribe because we come out with new videos with gardening tips and advice every week. So it's late winter, early spring here in the garden. The snow has melted and we can finally get to the garden beds. So it's a really good time to prune raspberries. And so that's what I'm out here doing today. All right, so there's two types of raspberries. There are June-bearing raspberries and there are fall raspberries. So when we're talking about pruning raspberries, how we're gonna prune is gonna be based on what kind they are. June-bearing raspberries will produce raspberries on last year's canes. So when you're thinking about pruning, you're gonna prune out anything that produced raspberries last year because now this year those will be 2-year-old canes. You'll also look and see if there's any canes that are spindly or very obviously dead and prune those out. And by cutting out anything that's dead or spindly, you're also creating more airflow in through the plant, which will help reduce disease and that sort of thing. This is a June-bearing raspberry, and so I'm gonna do some pruning. There are some good canes here, so these I'm going to leave. I can see some nice buds growing on them. But then down here, these are 2-year-old canes, so these are not gonna produce any fruit, so I'm going to cut these back. So I'm just gonna go right down to basically down to the base. And I'm gonna get this one too. And you can see that these are dead canes. So these are 2-year-old canes that have already produced fruit last year. So I'm gonna work on this plant, and then after that, we're gonna work on the fall raspberries. All right, so I went through and I took out 2-year-old canes. Also, there are a couple of these that were 1-year-old canes, but they didn't look in good shape. They were kind of spindly, and they're also kind of pointing off in the wrong direction. So we had some that were kind of coming out over into the fence over here, and don't want them going that direction. So I pruned those out as well. And you can see it gives kind of a nice, more open shape here as well. So we get some good airflow. And we've got kind of the nicest, strongest canes growing here. And you can see over here that it's also starting to spread. So, and that's good. We're going to encourage the raspberries to spread where they want to go. Raspberries want to spread, and that's what we have here. So I don't want them in the path, and I'm going to cut them back here. They're going to keep growing. They're going to keep doing this, but as long as they're growing in the path, I'm going to keep cutting them back. Eventually, they're going to wander into this bed, and as far as we're concerned, that's okay, because then we can have them established in this bed, if that's where we want them to be. If not, you've got to keep an eye on them and cut them back from wherever you don't want them. So if you want to bulk up your raspberries, you can dig them up from where they're spreading and plant them into another place. We're not going to do that because they're spreading fine on their own, and we're not in a rush to try to bulk them out and fill them into another bed. For fall-bearing raspberries, like the name implies, these are going to produce raspberries, a crop of raspberries in the fall. And so they produce raspberries on new canes. So canes that are going to start growing up now in the spring, those will grow all year, and you'll get your crop of raspberries in the fall for those. But you can also have fall raspberries be ever-bearing. And the way in which you do that is you take a look at the canes that you have and what produced fruit last year. And instead of cutting these all the way back, you can just follow it back from where it produced last year down to, you can see we've got some new buds coming in. And so come back to a spot where there are new buds and buds that are kind of pointing in the right direction. So pointing outwards as opposed to growing inwards towards the center of the plant. And you can just prune it there. And so you'll get new growth coming off that will produce flowers and berries. And so you'll get smaller crops, but you'll get them throughout the growing season. Again, if you want to get a higher volume of raspberries in the fall, you can just cut all of these back to the ground, leave about like an inch or two, and they'll produce new canes this year that will produce then the fruit in the fall. These are fall raspberries, but we're going to prune them to be ever-bearing. So what I'm going to do is, you can see where they produced last year. So I want to follow this back to some new growth, some new buds, and I want to look for buds that are pointing away from the center of the plant. So I think for this one, I think I'm going to come back to here. So this one, I think I'm going to cut back to here, because I like the bud going that way. So now it's a matter of looking for all of these and just cutting back the canes to a good spot. All right, so the other thing I'm gonna do while I'm here is I'm gonna remove, some of these are really thin and spindly, and so I'm gonna get rid of them so I can encourage some new big healthier canes to grow in their place. Also, this one's broken, so I'm going to cut this back as well. And then, I don't know, what do you think? Yeah, get rid of it. That one. Back to here. We planted heritage, and that's what this is here, and it has spread over here. And so what we did is we pruned these canes of heritage to be ever-bearing, and now this heritage, we're gonna cut these all the way back to be, so that way they produce a crop for the fall. Heritage spreads really well, and we like the way this is spreading, so that's why we're allowing these ones to spread over here. Caroline's another good one. We have that one next to, which I will do the same pruning and make that one, cut that one all the way back so we get a crop in the fall. I'm trying to clear out some of these like dead leaves and stuff in here as well, because that way things tend to dry out a little bit. I don't want any like disease or kind of rot happening. I did a short video last summer where one of these had cane blight, and I showed how to identify and take out the cane blight. That happens when there's too much moisture, not enough airflow. It starts to, it's a fungal infection. I'm pretty sure it's fungal. The plants can survive. You just got to cut out the diseased canes so that way you kind of try to stop the spreading. But then when it comes to pruning, it's good to try to keep things open and airy so that way you hopefully reduce it. Again, here I'm still looking at heritage. So the other thing you can see there's a difference between these canes, which were growing last year, and then down here these canes are older and they have died. How can I tell that they're dead? So if I scrape this, yeah, you can see. I'm going to cut this anyway, so it doesn't matter how much of this I scrape. But you can see that you can see the green. If you just kind of scrape that a little bit, that tells me that is a live cane. Whereas right next to it, if I were to do that and scrape, it's just brown. And so that is dead. That definitely can get removed. Yeah, I'm going to cut all of these back. You don't have to cut like underground. So you just want to cut it back to like 1 inch or 2. There we go. The next raspberry here, this is Caroline, and I'm going to do the same thing I just did with that clump of heritage. These are going to get cut all the way to the ground. So thanks for watching. I hope you found the video helpful. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification icon. That way you will know whenever we come out with a new video. And until then, happy gardening, and I'll see you next time.